Welcome everyone to the standing ZKsync Delegate call. We have some fun things to share today, to go over today. Obviously last week was ETH Denver. So there was a lot going on, and Rafa and I will talk a little bit about some of that today on the call. We also had some on-chain proposal action with two zips 5 and 6, passing the on-chain vote last week, and the voting window for zip 7 opening up. The agenda is, as always, the rough agenda is here in the forum post, but if there's anything else folks want to talk about, feel free to drop in the chat or raise your hand as well throughout. But yeah, I think maybe just to kick us off, Zach, would you be open to hopping on to talk about zip 7 quickly? We'll go over a little bit more about zip 5 and zip 6 in the proposal review call next week, and zip 7 as well, but just wanted to give some time to highlight that here too. Zach, did you want to? Okay.
Yeah, I can hop in. Yeah, so for zip 7, the overall kind of thing that we're looking to add there is including lens chain on the Elastic network. So currently, we had spun up a new chain and ecosystem for Lens so that they could backfill a bunch of their data. And now that that is done, we want to migrate them over to being part of the Elastic network. And so what does that look like? Basically, we want to take all of the temporary contracts that we had deployed and pass over ownership to the protocol upgrade handler. This will allow everyone to be sure that, as voting is going on and migration is being done, no one can come in and kind of make any malicious updates there. And then as part of it, we want to register their base token, the Lens token, as a valid base token for their chain within the canonical bridge hub. And then once they migrate over, upgrade them to V26, which is the gateway no gateway protocol version. Happy to dive in further, but if anyone has any questions.
Great. Rafa.
Hey, Zach. One question. So there's been a lot of talk around the EVM translator getting deployed. I wanted to ask, for zip 6, which I think is version 26, is the EVM translator going to be deployed on ZKsync Era, or is that the next proposal? Yeah,
so I would need to double check zip 6. But if that's for protocol version V26, that doesn't include the EVM emulator stuff. That will come in protocol version V27.
Got it.
And that will apply to that will apply to other chains and not Era, at least in this first upgrade.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thanks. Does anybody else have any other questions regarding zip 7 for Zach? We just wanted to make sure to highlight it this week since the voting window is live right now for this week. So now would be a good chance if you had any questions. Great. Okay. Thank you, Zach, for that update. And yeah, I think it's about 100. We're about 500 million away from quorum at the moment, if I remember correctly. So if you haven't voted yet, please go vote. Yeah, and then just to stay on the zip topic, we did want to mention as zip 5 passed, and it included some key parameter changes for the protocol governor remember we have 3 different governors, and this this upgrade or this zip in particular included some upgrades to some specific parameters for the protocol governor, including a reduction of the voting delay parameter, reduction of late quorum extension, and then the redeployment of the protocol upgrade handler. But the 2 we wanted to highlight here will once implemented will change those parameters for zips going forward. Zip 5 and Zip 6 passed on-chain voting last week. They have the 3-day veto window has now passed for the guardians to veto. The Security Council still needs to approve this upgrade. So it has been, so when the proposal passed on-chain last week, it was executed on L2. Once the Security Council passes the upgrade, it will be executed on L1. Until that happens, the parameters have not changed yet. Once they do change, we are already in preparation of like getting the edits and everything in order for all of the docs, the diagrams, everything like that. So once that changes, we'll be sure to update all of the appropriate documentation. And we just wanted to call that out specifically on this call because it will impact the kind of proposal process for zips going forward once that's implemented. Any questions on that? We can also talk about this in more depth in the proposal review call next week, but I did want to just call that out. Zip 7, by the way, since it was submitted before Zip 5 was executed on L1, still has the same old parameters. So nothing will be different for Zip 7. It's just zips going onward that are submitted on chain after Zip 5 is executed on L1. Everybody clear there? Great. Okay, so now we'll dive into some of the review and from ETH Denver last week, takeaways from ETH Denver last week. As you know, Rafa and I hosted a delegate meetup similar to the one that we did in Bangkok, but this time was a little bit bigger, was a little bit longer, and we had some other participants from the ecosystem join, including Matter Labs and the ZKsync Foundation. Rafa and I have already created this summary and key takeaways document for your review. If you were not able to be there, thank you to everybody who was able to be there. It was really great to meet so many of you and chat with you folks in person. It's always a wonderful experience. And yeah, we got through a lot of topics. So we wanted to make sure, for just sake of transparency and accessibility, of course, to document these key takeaways in this on the forum, so folks can have access to that as well. We also linked the slides that we went over here, so you can also look at the slides if you want, but the main information and takeaways is included in this document. Yeah, so just to kind of briefly go over some of them, we won't go over everything, but just to go over some of the key highlights from each of the sessions. The first one was Rafa and I gave a little presentation on the state of governance. So 6 months in, pretty much almost exactly 6 months in, after launching the ZKsync governance system, where are we at? What have we done? So what we've, after launching, the kind of like main priority for these last 6 months was to make sure everything works, to validate the system that was launched. And we have come to the conclusion that this validation phase is complete. How do we come to that conclusion? We have now successfully executed 2 or 4 for zips proposals on each of the 3 different governors. So there were now 4 zips executed, 2 TPPs, and 2 gaps executed. So 2 for each of the governors, which is great. The infrastructure that was launched and put in place to support governance is working. The governance team has been able to highlight and ship additional, or like identify and ship additional resources that were needed. based on discussions and asks from delegates and other ecosystem members over the last few months. We're working on a summary of all of those things, kind of like a 6 months like governance team review post, which will hopefully get out sometime this week. So that we'll also add that here, link it here. We'll add a separate post on the forum. We're working on a new governance dashboard to monitor governance performance. This is also, it's not done yet. It's still like MVP, but I can share it here if folks are interested in taking a look at it, but trying to highlight how can we, as we go forward, be able to track some important metrics to understand just general governance performance, delegate participation, and also different attack metrics or capture resistance as we go forward into 2025. We also discussed how in the realm of TPPs, there seems to be 3 kind of main types of proposals that have been coming up or ideas that we've been seeing come up over the last 6 months or in these first 6 months. Ecosystem growth is one of those. So any proposal that is supporting like the growth of ZKchain or app network with building in ZKsync, support for protocol development. So how can TPPs be used to support protocol development or ensure the long-term sustainability of protocol development? And the last is governance sustainability. So supporting governance bodies, security council, guardians, et cetera. And how can you ensure the kind of like maintenance of all of the infrastructure that is maintained by the association at the moment so interfaces, all of that going forward as well. So that just based on the discussions Rafa and I have been having over the 6 months, this is something we wanted to share. Those are kind of like the 3 categories we've seen come forth or presented from or different ideas that have been presented over the last 6 months. And then highlighting what's next. So validation launch, check. Validation phase, check. What's next? We talked about sustainable momentum. And what does that mean? So now that we know that the governance system works, how can we make sure that it continues to, flourish and going into 2025? Now that we have the GAP 1 token assembly priorities clarified for 2025, now that there's like public blog posts regarding technical roadmap going forward into 2025, how can we make this kind of momentum sustainable for the ZKsync governance system? And the 3 points there, they kind of align with some of the TPP points that I mentioned above. Ensuring governance bodies and association are equipped to maintain the function of the governance system going forward, strengthening protocol upgrade coordination processes, and then creating deeper, more reliable alignment between the token assembly, Matter Labs, and the ZKsync Foundation. We'll talk about this in the section below. The panel, there were some flash presentations from the Matter Labs folks, and then there was a panel with Matter Labs and the ZKsync Foundation where they kind of clarified what they've been observing over the last 6 months, and then the role they would also like to possibly here.
Just maybe we should take questions before we dive into this, like around the first 2 sections. So yeah, just in case there's any active questions. I know we've shared already a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Great shout. Any questions on this so far? Or if you were there, anything else to add? Yeah, Sid.
Hey, Shelby. Unfortunately, obviously, I wasn't able to make it in person. But just a quick question, like to understand better the outcome from the ground. what does the DAO still do direct proposals? What is the way that that's going to go? And if you could just clarify a little bit of that, because yeah, would be good to hear from you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And well, this is something that is highlighted here in the panel section, section 4. But just repetition is never a bad thing. So nothing has changed, like with the underlying governance mechanism or system. System is and will remain permissionless. So this is that, like, nothing has really changed on that front. The only thing that has changed, I guess, or has become clear is the role that the foundation, the ZKsync Foundation and Matter Labs have decided they would like to try to play, or how they want to support governance going forward. And we'll talk, like I said, we'll talk about that in that section as well. But nothing, like underlying governance system and mechanism has not changed.
Yeah, I would add though that the one thing that Marco mentioned during the panel, which is important to note, is that it's unlikely that the foundation specifically will be supporting any any external proposals, because they have kind of like their own proposal pipeline that they're going to be working with. And I think that's just something of note. The other thing that I think that we're going to see is increase scrutiny around how proposals basically contribute to like a holistic view as part of overall fragmentation. So I think that we're definitely going to see the foundation participating in active discussion around whether proposals are duplicating efforts in terms of infrastructure development, or not taking advantage of the current tooling or that is available in the ecosystem. So just bear in mind that as these conversations go forward, yeah, we should expect an increased level of scrutiny to really try to maintain cohesion in terms of that and the token assembly's focus and priorities.
That sounds good.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks for the question, Sid. And again, we'll maybe dive into a few more details in a minute. But any other questions on this first section? Or is everybody kind of clear on or aligned with validation? Things work?
Shelby, the other thing that I would just mention here is something that we talked about during the session, but maybe we didn't mention here, is that there's a note of gratitude from our side, from the Gov team, and also from the Foundation and Matter Labs, because getting over the first 6 months and making sure that the governance system actually works is no small feat. So simply a huge call out to helping us in this first phase. It's not easy to launch. It's also not easy to be able to pass a protocol upgrade. So just a note of gratitude there.
Yes, absolutely. Great shout. This is, as you know, also kind of a more novel mechanism with the 3 different governors, with the token mechanic kind of focus, a different governance system than you see in other ecosystems. So getting this kind of set up and off the ground, we appreciate your folks' support and patience with that as well. So yeah, great note, Rafa. Yeah, I think maybe there was a nice reflections exercise that we did on kind of governance trends. If you were there, please like comment on this post and add. We didn't take diligent enough notes for this section. There were more trends identified that we can add here, but these were just a few that were brought up by delegates who were in attendance. But yeah, I'll maybe just to go through this a little bit more quickly. I'll go just flash to the next section. So as I mentioned, there were presentations from 3 different representatives from Matter Labs. So Matter Labs, just given their experience and or expertise and kind of position in the ecosystem, they've kind of built, like, the ZKsync protocol was kind of their baby that they've now handed everything over to the community. So having their like roadmap or just like insights into what they're thinking about or what they're planning, I guess, for the next year we thought would be interesting for delegates as well. So we actually had Alex Bukowski, who's the founder of Matter Labs, come and present the Matter Lab strategy for 2025. And then we had the CMO of Matter Labs come and present this new kind of elastic brand and kind of brand direction strategy for Matter Labs and ZKsync going forward. I recommend to go look at the slides for these presentations for sure, because there's information, but there's also fun examples of the brand stuff as well. And then Anthony Rose, who's actually the CTO of Matter Labs, also joined and gave a really nice overview of kind of the technical engineering roadmap for 2025. Also really highlighted how there's going to be this year like some really big protocol upgrades coming. And one thing that we want to work on, or also like really open for feedback at any time from you folks, is try to figure out how can we kind of enable delegates or empower delegates to have the information they need in order to really understand and vote on those big protocol upgrades that are coming this year down the pipeline. So just wanted to go over those quick and also call that point out so we can start thinking about that together as well. Is there a question? No. Okay, great. Rafa, did you want to revisit some points from the panel here? Maybe go through some of these higher level ones. I know we kind of talked about
I think that the main thing is I think we're all kind of aware of where the market is right now. And I think that I think it's really based on what has been learned from Ignite. This framing of proposals as products is, in my opinion, a really, really good kind of mind shift. So I think this builds on what we had talked about before in terms of kind of like pushing the token mechanics narrative. I know that Factory Labs just submitted their research report a couple of weeks ago around the Ignite program and some areas that are difficult around multi-sig coordination, execution, and also push versus pull models. And so when we start thinking about proposals as products and these token flows as kind of like product token flows, I think it really unlocks like a kind of like a new mindset. And I'm personally, it's really nice to kind of see the foundation and Matter Labs kind of reinforcing the story around proposals as products, and then saying, hey, like, how do we design these products moving forward? How do we get involved and start taking ownership over this product development process? So I think that's all good. And yeah, I think one open question that one of the main delegates asked us was, how do we now like create a very seamless ongoing conversation so that the foundation has a public pipeline so that it's really easy for service providers to get in contact with them around participating in those development processes, how delegates can provide feedback to them as well. So I think there's, as a good friend of mine would say, there's a lot of wood to chop in terms of what the next 6 months look like. But it's the next phase. We went from launch phase 1, we went through validation, kind of phase 2, and now I think we really need to figure out what like ongoing collaboration looks like, and really try to avoid some of the, you know, if hopefully we don't have to relearn all the same things that other ecosystems have learned the hard way. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yes, definitely second that. Any questions so far? Just another pause moment. Okay, great. Then the last section, just to briefly go over, of course, we can't do a delegate meetup without talking about token mechanics. And this time, instead of focusing on just like providing a general or like the overview or the basics, this time we really focused on the why and the how pieces. So I think Rafa and I, over the last 6 months, we've the experience we've had is once folks understand token mechanics, or they understand the vision of like where it's meant to be or meant to go, they're sold on it. They're really excited about it, really on board with that direction. But they don't really, the how is sometimes a little foggy, and also the why seems to be missing sometimes as well. That doesn't seem to be like super solid. So we wanted to take the time here to focus on those two pieces. So just some key takeaways as to like why use token mechanics, why do this. One thing we've noticed, I guess over the last 6 months as well, is like, oh, token mechanics are great, but then once you kind of are approached with developing a proposal and like trying to like build a mechanic or deploy a mechanic or like try to work towards this automation piece, people are like, it's kind of, I don't know, it's just easier to do a multi-sig. And we want to avoid that. So this is why we're trying to focus a little bit more on the why, and we'll continue to try to find ways to do this and make that clear going forward. This was just like an initial kind of point we wanted to or there's some initial summary points to focus on here. So efficiency, minimizing the need for bureaucracy or steerico as some sort of committee, or the action, maybe not like there may be a need for one, but like minimizing the responsibility or role of that committee in token programs. Security, reducing the number of transactions that need to be signed. That this is where the automation piece really comes in, and enabling these mechanics to provide this efficiency and security piece for token programs, and accountability, of course, of being able to understand the cap minter mechanism and understand how the flows, where the flows are going, and be able to trace that at any time. And then the how. So Rafa and I tried to think of some examples to show or to try to explain some basic functions that how token mechanics can be used, because I think this is the piece that's really been hard for folks to grasp. Is like seeing the vision of how these different tools that are now being posted in the TPP builders category on the forum could be brought together to build a mechanic, or how it would work in a token program. So we tried to these are some really silly little slides that we put together. It's not like super fancy examples, but I think the main premise is able to be understood from them. So you can check those out here. The 2 case studies were self-claiming rewards using some sort of role-based NFT, and then to access a cap minter, and then conditional streams was the other one, the example that we used. So being able to create or trigger a stream and also pause and restart a stream based on the meeting or non-meeting of a specific metric, etc. So yeah, these I think are really good examples. And if you would like, we can go over them in more detail all together or at another time. But the thing that we want to actually start doing, and that was the next item on the agenda, is starting to highlight these TPP builders going forward to help showcase them, one, but also to help like provide some more examples and get these builders thinking a little bit more on how they could be used in different programs. So what Rafa and I want to do, we've already started to encourage all of these technical partners or teams that we've identified or been talking to or approached by who are building these different token mechanic kind of building blocks or tools that are like already, they are token mechanics in themselves. So encouraging them to post a summary on the forum in the TPP builders category. You might have already seen it. You might have already seen some or reviewed some of the posts that are posted there, but there's quite a few folks who've already added their comments there. So that's really exciting. What we're trying to do here over the next few delegate calls, so in 2 weeks will be the first opportunity for folks to do this. We're asking TPP builders, we already have one signing up, that's great, to ask folks who are posting in the TPP builders category to sign up for a 10-minute slot to present what their tool or service is, how it aligns with the token mechanics standards and values, an example or multiple examples of how that could be used in a token program, and then any links to contracts or documents. So you see here over the next few delegate calls, there'll be 3 10-minute slots available for folks to sign up. So the next few delegate calls will be primarily focused on showcasing some of these token mechanics, because it seems like that is kind of a main need or a critical missing piece right now for us to move forward, or for us all to be on the same page with really imagining what these token mechanics for token programs could look like. So yes, if you are one of those people, please go sign up. It's live on the forum and linked in the agenda. Any questions on this or on the from the delegate meetup notes? Okay, great.
One note, just so if we can go back to the token mechanics review, Shelby, and we talk about the objectives of why.
Yeah.
Something I'd like to kind of think about here and raise with everyone is that it's what we're trying to get to a point is also to be able to measure our progress towards better token mechanics. There are 2 metrics that are emerging that we will likely start reviewing and understanding. And for any program, we can measure the amount of multi-sig transactions that actually need to take place per month, per week, and we can actually track that actually down. We can also measure the amount of disruptions that require, or interventions, I would say, that require engineering resources. One example here is the creation of custom call data. So as we track both of these, so how many multi-sig transactions need to be coordinated and executed, and how many engineering interventions need to take place, we balance that with the security audits and security reviews for the token mechanics themselves. And what we should see over the next 12 months is programs which may launch with, if we think about Ignite, there's probably a half dozen to a dozen multi-sig transactions currently on a monthly basis, and we should see that number go down. And for any new program, we should also see that number kind of go down. When we think about token mechanics, this gives us the beginning. I don't know if these will be the metrics, but these will give us the beginning of certain metrics to think about how good we're progressing in creating flows of tokens instead of activating multi-sigs that execute token transactions, if we can think about it that way. So just highlighting that when we're thinking about token programs, and part of the feedback that we'll give to the foundation on their pipeline is, hey, can you kind of tell me like how many multi-sig transactions per month are you expecting? And we can kind of like map that out. And then what are we doing to improve on that? Okay, that was the only addition that I.
Great. Yeah, thanks. And also, if you're reviewing this and you're thinking to yourself, it might be helpful for to have Rafa and Shelby talk through this on another call, let us know. We're super happy to do it and like go through the examples in detail. If that's something you folks are interested in, just please comment on the next delegate call. We can make some time to do that as well. Yeah, because we really want this piece to be clear for folks. And then yeah, so that was kind of the primary summary for the delegate meetup. We then had a really lovely little delegate happy hour after, just to provide the opportunity for folks, if they weren't able to make the meetup, they could at least stop by the happy hour. And that was also really lovely, really great rooftop vibes there. And thanks to everybody who came to that. Then the Elastic House was the other big ZKsync event that happened last week that took place on Friday and Saturday. And you can imagine it like, if you've been to ETH Denver, think of it like with the booths and the talks, think of it like a mini ETH Denver, but just for ZKsync, people like chains or apps building in the ZKsync ecosystem. So it was really cool. Actually, like this was kind of set up and organized by the ZKsync Foundation and Matter Labs. So Rafa and I were really excited to just attend, and we're really surprised by the kind of really like great energy that was there. They had different ZK chains or apps. They had booths. And then there was also a stage where presentations were given by the chains of the apps building in the space, but also just from different players within Matter Labs or the foundation. I believe all those talks were recorded, so you can, if you want to go back and look at some of those, those will be accessible sometime soon. But yeah, it was really, really wonderful. It was a really convenient opportunity for Rafa and I anyway to go and just meet up with everybody who we needed to meet up with in the ZKsync ecosystem, and get to meet in person some of the builders or the founders of these chains, the chain or the apps building on these chains. So yeah, it was a really great event. If you were also there, yeah, I'm not sure how many folks were on this call were there, but I know they want to continue doing these in the future. So there'll be more opportunities to join and also meet some of the builders in the ecosystem. I know that's been a request from delegates of like, how can we meet other people or understand what's being built in the ecosystem. There'll hopefully be some more of those Elastic House events around bigger ETH events or conferences going forward. So definitely recommend making time to stop by those at future events. Yeah, and those are like the main highlights, I guess I would say, from last week. I know Tecker, you had asked just in your comment here, just kind of generally how it was and everything, and great, wonderful energy. Great to meet a lot of folks in person, and yeah. Okay, so next on the agenda is we did the TPP Builder presentation sign up. The next item on the agenda is the ZKsync community program. So we unfortunately were unable to get Grendel to join. He's the community mod who is kind of helping run this program or lead this program. So in cooperation with Bitcoin. So this program was announced Friday or Saturday, sometime over the last few days. It is a 6-month ecosystem program experiment, I guess is what they're calling it. It's kind of incubated through and paid for by the ZKsync Foundation. And it's kind of just an experiment to see how they could possibly incubate some general community participation over these next 6 months. So the program is an initiative designed to empower contributors, reward meaningful participation, and provide clear pathways for community members to play an active role in the expanding ecosystem. There's 5 million ZK allocated to be distributed through this program. All of the details on like who can participate, how participants will like contribute, or the different ways that are the different kind of ways that you can contribute that are being like looked at or measured in this program are all outlined in this post. I recommend to go read this if it's something you might be interested in. This is obviously also something delegates could participate in. And yeah, the Gitcoin will be running it, but it will be in cooperation with kind of the community mods and the Discord admins who, they'll all be kind of working together to help manage the program. So if you're interested in this, I recommend going to take a look and read through the program here. What's next? So March 5th, so tomorrow, the program details would be communicated by Gitcoin and available on the ZKsync Community Hub. And then March 7th, there'll be a Discord AMA regarding the program. So if you are on the ZKsync Discord server, I'm sure you can go and like follow the event or just find the call details there. But yeah, we'll try to have Grendel join the next delegate call, and he can give a little presentation on it in 2 weeks from now. He unfortunately just wasn't able to make it today. If you do have questions on it, we could maybe like start a thread on the forum or something for him in preparation for the call, or I believe you can respond in the blog post directly as well. Or ask them on Discord, I know, because the Discord mods will know how to direct you there. Great, okay. And that's all for now. Any other questions or topics you folks wanted to go over or us to dive into, or any other questions from last week? You guys are quiet today.
Everybody's sick from East Denver now.
Everybody's sick and so tired.
And so tired. Yeah, I'm gonna hop off, but yeah, text us if you need anything. Stay tuned. I'm messaging with Marco, and hopefully the foundation will put out kind of a post with the proposal pipeline they have in mind for the next 3 to 6 months, and create some conversation around those. So stay tuned for that side. And then, yeah, excited to hang out.
Awesome. Thanks, folks. Thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your week. Take care of yourself, recover, and we'll see you.
Also, just one additional note. If you have been thinking about a specific proposal and you want the foundation to know about the idea or have it under consideration for the pipeline, please just send us a quick note so that we can share that information. So anyways, cheers, guys.
Thanks, guys.